In 1931, a 5-year-old Swedish boy began selling matchsticks to his neighbors. 12 years later, that boy would go on to found what would become the world's largest furniture retailer. This is the story of how the creations of a dyslexic farm boy became a part of every home in the world. Ingvar Kamprad was born in 1926 on his family farm near Agunnaryd in Småland, Sweden. The farm was located in an area that was known to produce more stone than crop, and whose residents were known to be rather financially creative. Like them, young Ingvar was overcome with an enterprising spirit that would ensure that his family would not need to rely on the scant crop yield to survive. At just 5 years old, Ingvar began repacking and selling matches that his aunt would buy in bulk in the city. With each small profit made, he would set aside some money to reinvest into his operations. A few short years later, and Ingvar's business had expanded into a mobile store based out of his mother's bicycle. He would cycle to the neighboring farms, providing a variety of products from magazines and Christmas cards to vegetable seeds and fish caught on the family boat. Soon enough, he had made sufficient amount of money to replace his mother's bike with one of his own, but Ingvar never lost sight of the bigger picture. Why stop at a bicycle when he was building a business? With a mind made for commerce, Ingvar convinced his father to upgrade the fishing nets used on the boat to larger ones, allowing them to catch more fish, and in turn allowing Ingvar to sell more. More sales meant more money, which meant more expenditure to fund his future endeavors. Even the confines of boarding school away from his customers on the farms of Agunnaryd did not stifle Ingvar's enterprising nature. A new environment simply meant new customers, and customers needed products. So, armed with an array of wallets, pens, belts, and watches purchased with the savings made from his previous endeavors, Ingvar arranged a selection of products that would turn his classmates into customers. His time at school would prove to be enlightening, for by the time Ingvar completed his education 3 years later, he had a greater ambition than to cycle around the farmland selling fish and seeds, and a well-placed graduation gift would see his ambition through. Ingvar had decided that he would own and operate his own firm, an official form of the business he'd been running throughout his childhood. And so in 1943, with the registration fee covered as a gift from his father, 17-year-old Ingvar Kamprad founded Ikea. Named after the town closest to his childhood home, the family farm, and his own initials, Ingvar Kamprad's Ikea began as a fully realized version of his childhood exploits. Originally, Ikea functioned as a mail-order service operating out of a rented milk van. It could be accessed through brochures that detailed a selection of products initially confined to household goods. Things like pens and watches, which Ingvar had sold as a teenager in boarding school, to new items such as picture frames and jewelry. The main draw of the items was their low price and the accessibility of it all, with the early dealings of Ikea focusing on the rural towns that Ingvar was more familiar with. With time, the brochure would expand to include a larger variety of items. With each new edition, Ingvar would rely on consumer feedback to dictate product stocks. Unpopular items would be reduced and eventually removed, while items that were in demand would garner more stock. Through this form of market research, in 1948, Ingvar discovered that people really wanted to buy furniture. Better yet, people wanted to buy accessible, affordable, reliable furniture. By the time Ikea released its first catalog in 1951, furniture had become their main draw. It has to be noted that, in its early days, Ikea was met with some skepticism. Potential customers who had yet to purchase any products themselves were hesitant to believe that such good prices could be attached to a furniture of any acceptable quality. Surely, the low price pointed to an equally poor quality. To ward off this belief, confident that once people came in contact with the furniture for themselves, they would be convinced of its condition, Ingvar took the next step to building the iconic furniture giant as we know it today. He opened the very first Ikea showroom in an old workshop in Älmhult, Sweden. 5 years later, in 1958, Ingvar would open the doors to the very first brick-and-mortar Ikea store. In the beginning, Ikea, much like any other furniture store, sold their products whole. While their furniture was stylish and affordable, it was still as bulky and inconvenient to ship as any other furniture. It would be furniture designer Gillis Lundgren, one of Ikea's earlier employees, who would solve the issue with one simple solution. When a table was shipping did not fit in the trunk of his car, Gillis simply disassembled it. Laying flat, the table was much easier to transport, and so Gillis wasted no time in implementing this idea on a company-wide scale. In no time, Ikea furniture was packed and shipped in its familiar flat-pack format. The first of which was the Lovenback table, known at the time of its inception in 1956 as the Lovet. A year prior to their debut of flat-pack furniture, Ikea faced boycotts from the manufacturers that Ingvar had been working with. Due to the low prices that Ingvar charged for his products, manufacturers refused to work with him, believing that they could turn a better profit elsewhere. Once again, the solution was simple. When one cannot outsource production, do it in-house. By designing, producing, showcasing, and flat-packing all of their own furniture, Ikea was able to offer quality products for the low prices that Ingvar desired to charge. Even as the local competition urged suppliers to cut their ties with Ikea, Ingvar found solutions. A lack of local suppliers meant new foreign ties. Foreign ties meant foreign expansion, and so Ikea spread to the neighboring nations. Ingvar then noticed that hungry customers would leave the store empty-handed in search of sustenance, and so Ikea opened their own dining facilities. Even a devastating fire that burnt Ikea's 1970s flagship store to the ground would be utilized as an opportunity to reconceptualize the store, turning a run-of-the-mill furniture stop into the homeware shopping machine that it is today. 1973 saw Ikea leaving the confines of Scandinavia to venture further out on the globe. From Sydney to Hong Kong, stores cropped up everywhere, each gaining more attention and momentum than the last. By 1979, Ikea boasted 29 global locations that would go on to gather multitudes more with each year, every subsequent decade topping the last in new locations in new nations. Everyone needed furniture, and everyone wanted furniture that was easy on both the eye and the wallet. And Ikea filled that spot in the market unlike any other store. America welcomed its first Ikea location in Philadelphia in 1985, while the Philippines boasted a sprawling 730,000 square foot facility hosting an estimated 20,000 daily visits. Back in Älmhult, home of Ikea's headquarters, a hotel and museum were even erected to keep record of the origins of the company that Ingvar had built, where visitors can still purchase exclusive Ikea products. A core tenet of Ikea's success has been its penchant for reinvesting profits into its operations or branching out to more charitable endeavors. Instead of the billions of dollars in revenue that Ikea rakes in each year going to line pockets of rich board members, the corporate structure of the company sees that the company is using its profit only to do good for itself or for the world. The company doesn't shy away from potential controversy either, whether that's weighing in on the climate crisis by pledging to be climate positive by the end of this decade, or dipping into the renewable energy market in Sweden and other European nations. Ikea often charges head-on into changes that other multinational companies would back at. Most recently, Ikea shut down all Russian locations following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The company's dedication to high-quality products, affordable prices, and the betterment of society have done a great deal to endear Ikea to the consumers of the world. From meatballs to malm beds, Ikea is a staple of the lives of millions around the globe. From a business-savvy toddler to one of the most recognizable brands on the face of the earth, the furniture giant's continued strides forward in the realms of furniture, design, and sustainability will ensure that Ikea stays a household name in homes filled with their furniture.